Welcome to another podcast of the Riffle series. The Riffle, a podcast series brought to you by 10 Leaves.
Glad to be here.
So, if I asked you right now how North Korean hackers or, international drug cartels move $1 billion across borders today, you'd probably picture, I don't know, shipping containers stuffed with $100 bills.
Right, like an old movie.
Exactly. Or maybe untraceable Bitcoin zipping around the dark web. But you would be wrong. They are actually using the exact same digital casino chips that Wall Street banks and global payment processors and everyday tech companies are using.
Yeah, it's a completely different landscape now.
It really is. And today we're doing a deep dive into a brand new, highly anticipated document. It's the March 2026 Targeted Report on Stablecoins and Unhosted Wallets, released by the Financial Action Task Force, or the FATF.
It's a heavy read, but a crucial one.
Definitely. And our mission for this deep dive is to figure out how stablecoins have quietly, sort of taken over the global financial plumbing. We want to know why global syndicates and sanctioned states are suddenly obsessed with them.
And of course, the high-tech cat-and-mouse game authorities are playing to stop them.
Right. So joining me to decode the hidden wiring of this massive global financial shift is our resident expert. I'm very glad you're here because reading through this FATF report, it feels less like a niche update about cryptocurrency and more like a warning flare about the entire global economy.
Oh, it is entirely a warning flare. I mean, we are looking at the absolute battleground where the next era of financial crime is actively being fought.
Yeah.
The FATF report isn't just about crypto anymore.
No.
Not at all. It's actually a blueprint for the future of global money. And to really understand how bad actors are exploiting this technology, you first have to understand the sheer world-altering scale of the legitimate stablecoin market.
Right, because it's huge now. Okay, let's unpack this for a second, because I always try to visualize these concepts to make them concrete for you listening. If Bitcoin is like digital gold that wildly fluctuates in value.
Which it does, constantly.
Yeah, like one day you're wealthy, the next you can't afford a cup of coffee. But stablecoins are like casino chips pegged perfectly to the US dollar. You get the speed of an email, but the stability of a fiat currency.
And that stability is the fundamental driver, right?
Right.
That's why adoption has exploded. The 2026 FATF report breaks down these staggering numbers that just completely shatter the popular image of crypto.
You mean the idea that it's just day traders speculating on dog-themed tokens?
Exactly. That's over. As of mid-2025, there were over 250 different stablecoins in circulation, and their total market capitalization exceeded $300 billion.
Oh, wow, $300 billion.
Yeah. They account for about 8% of the entire virtual asset ecosystem now. But the metric that truly illustrates their dominance is the transaction volume.
Okay, what are we looking at there?
In a single 24-hour window, stablecoin trading volume hit $156 billion.
Wait, really? $156 billion in one day?
In one day. That is nearly 3 times the daily trading volume of Bitcoin.
3 times the volume of Bitcoin? That's insane. That means this isn't a speculative investment anymore. It's actual infrastructure. People are using this to move real value.
Exactly. It's financial plumbing now. They represent 30% of all on-chain virtual asset transaction volume. And what's interesting is the backing of these assets is heavily centralized.
Yeah.
Like 95% of this market is fiat-backed.
Meaning there's actual regular money sitting in a bank somewhere backing up the digital coin.
Right. Issued by a central company holding real currency in reserve. And of that 95%, a staggering 97% is backed specifically by the US dollar.
So it's basically a digital dollar.
Functionally, yes.
Yeah.
Stablecoins have become a high-speed 247 digital rail for the US dollar, completely bypassing traditional correspondent banking.
Okay, so if they are this mainstream and used by financial institutions and regular businesses, why is the FATF issuing targeted warnings? I mean, it seems like a hyper-efficient system.
Well, that's the so what of the whole report. It is hyper-efficient, which is the exact problem. Think about why a legitimate multinational corporation loves a stablecoin.
Because traditional banking is slow.
Right. A bank transfer across borders using SWIFT might take 3 days, right? It has intermediary fees. It only processes during business hours. A stablecoin transfer settles in 3 seconds, costs pennies, and works at 2 a.m. on a Sunday.
Okay, so if I'm a criminal, I want those exact same perks.
Precisely. Transnational organized crime syndicates look at those exact features, high liquidity, price stability, instant settlement, and realize it's the perfect vehicle for their operations.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, because you always hear about ransomware hackers holding hospitals hostage and demanding Bitcoin. Has that changed?
The shift has been massive.
Yeah.
According to the FATF report, stablecoins accounted for 84% of the $154 billion in illicit virtual asset transaction volume in 2025.
84%. So Bitcoin has just been completely eclipsed for illicit activity.
Completely. And the logic is identical to a legitimate business. Criminals do not want to hold a volatile asset.
Oh, right. Because if a cybercriminal steals $10 million in Bitcoin, the market could crash before they launder it.
Exactly. They might be left with $6 million by Tuesday. They need the digital casino chips that stay at $10 million.
That makes total sense. And the report goes into some really alarming specific examples. The section on sanction states stood out to me because it moves the threat from the digital world straight into the physical world.
Yeah, the data from the Multilateral Sanctions Monitoring Team, the MSMT, on state-sponsored actors is chilling.
Yeah.
Take North Korea, the DPRK. They're operating on an industrial scale.
Right. Groups like Lazarus.
Yes, Lazarus is infamous. In early 2025 alone, they orchestrated thefts totaling nearly $1.46 billion. But what the FATF points out is how they spend it. DPRK entities are using Tether, specifically the USDT stablecoin on the Tron blockchain.
And what are they buying with it?
Physical goods,
Yeah.
military equipment. Like they're buying copper for munitions production directly from overseas suppliers using Tether.
Wow. That just makes the logistics of international sanctions evasion so much easier to comprehend. I mean, trying to move pallets of physical cash across heavily guarded borders takes airplanes, bribes, shell companies. It's a massive physical risk.
And very visible.
Exactly. But moving $1 billion in USDT just requires an internet connection and a private key.
Right. And Iranian actors are doing the exact same thing. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, they receive billions in funds on-chain to evade UN sanctions.
And what are they procuring?
High-tech drone components. They also transfer funds to regional allies for weapons. The traditional banking system is full of tripwires for these sanctioned states.
Yeah.
Stablecoins let them finance international trade practically invisibly.
And I assume it's the same for drug cartels paying for synthetic drug precursors from overseas.
Oh, absolutely. It's instant liquidity. But the report also highlights how this tech is used for obfuscation, not just direct purchases.
Oh, like the French online casino case mentioned in the report. I really want to look at how these bad actors actually hide the money, because it seems contradictory, you know? They are laundering money, but the blockchain is a public ledger. Everyone can see it.
It is public, but the French case perfectly illustrates the layering process. Authorities over there noticed a series of transactions where funds from an online casino were being rapidly converted into stablecoins through a French crypto provider.
Okay, so they were cashing out their winnings as stablecoins.
Right. But the individuals gambling had declared incomes that completely contradicted their massive spending. They were taking dirty fiat money, running it through the casino so it looked like legitimate gambling winnings, and then rapidly converting it to stablecoins to move it globally.
So they're creating a false origin story for the money before it even hits the blockchain.
Exactly, and then eventually cashing out to bank accounts elsewhere. But the rapid, pointless conversion flagged the system.
But the transparency of the blockchain can also work against the criminals, right? There was that fascinating and honestly horrifying case out of India involving human trafficking.
Yeah, that case really shows how digital forensics can uncover physical world crimes. An Indian virtual asset provider noticed a cluster of customers whose IP addresses traced back to Southeast Asia.
And what were they doing?
They were executing a very specific pattern. They'd receive USDT stablecoins, instantly liquidate them, and withdraw the Indian rupees to domestic bank accounts back in India.
I mean, on paper, that just looks like a normal remittance payment, right? Like someone working abroad sending money home to their family.
The Indian provider thought the exact same thing initially. But they did some enhanced due diligence. They tried to call the customers, and all the phone numbers were disconnected.
Oh, wow. Red flag.
Big red flag.
Yeah.
They finally reached a few of them through messaging apps and uncovered that these were Indian nationals trapped in scam centers in Cambodia and Myanmar.
Those pig butchering scam compounds.
Yes. The syndicates paid the captive workers meager salaries in physical cash, like Thai baht or US dollars. The victims then used an illegal local payment broker to convert that cash into USDT to send home.
That's incredibly dark.
It is. But here is the kicker. By analyzing that blockchain data, Indian authorities were actually able to identify 241 user locations around those scam compounds. They literally mapped out the physical coordinates of human trafficking centers using the ledger.
So the victims are utilizing the technology for its intended purpose, cheap cross-border remittances, while being held captive by syndicates funded by the exact same technology.
It's a brutal
It
paradox.
really is. But this brings me back to the logistical contradiction. If the blockchain is a public ledger where anyone in the world can view every single transaction, how do North Korean hackers hide $1.46 billion? It sounds like trying to sneak a parade through a glass tunnel.
That's a great analogy. Think of it this way. The tunnel is glass, but
Okay.
everyone in the parade is wearing a mask. The transactions are public, but they are pseudonymous. You don't see names like John Smith. You just see wallet addresses, which are long strings of random letters and numbers. And to exploit this, threat actors rely on a specific structural mechanism, the unhosted wallet.
Okay, let's clarify what an unhosted wallet actually is for you listening, because the difference between that and a normal crypto account seems to be the entire crux of the FATF's concern.
Sure, if you use an app like Coinbase or Binance, you are using a hosted wallet. That exchange is a regulated intermediary, just like a bank. They are legally required to perform. Know your customer checks, KYC.
Right, they ask for my passport, my driver's license, all that.
Exactly. And they monitor your transactions and report suspicious activity. An unhosted wallet, on the other hand, is just a piece of software or a USB drive where you alone hold the private cryptographic keys.
So there's no company involved at all.
None. There is no third-party service provider to ask for your ID. You interact directly with the blockchain peer-to-peer. The FATF highlights this as a massive vulnerability because these transactions fall completely outside standard anti-money laundering rules.
So if I have $1 billion in an unhosted wallet, I am wearing the mask in the glass tunnel. But law enforcement can still follow the mask, right? If I steal funds, the FBI can just watch my wallet address and wait to see where I send the money. How do they break that chain of surveillance?
They use a technique called chain hopping, often using decentralized exchanges and bridges.
Okay, explain the mechanics of that. If I move money from, say, the Tron blockchain to the Ethereum blockchain, aren't both ledgers public? Why does jumping between them hide the money?
Well, if you want to swap a US dollar for a euro in the physical world, you go to a bank or currency exchange. They record your identity. If a criminal wants to swap a stablecoin on Tron for one on Ethereum, they use a decentralized exchange.
And a DX doesn't require ID.
A DEX isn't even a company. It's just a piece of self-executing code, a smart contract floating on the internet. It acts like a mathematical vending machine. You put Tron in, it spits Ethereum out. Because it's just code, it can't ask for a passport.
That's wild.
And furthermore, blockchains operate as isolated databases. They don't naturally communicate with each other. So by using these automated bridges to hop across 3 or 4 different blockchains, criminals fracture the transaction flow. Investigators are forced to piece together a puzzle where the pieces are scattered across entirely unconnected ledgers.
Okay, so they use unhosted wallets to stay anonymous, and they chain hop through decentralized code to shatter the audit trail. But eventually, right, if a cartel wants to buy a physical mansion or bribe a border guard, they can't pay in USDT. They have to turn those digital casino chips back into cold, hard fiat currency.
Exactly. The FATF calls this the off-ramp problem.
How do they do that without getting caught at the bank?
The off-ramp is the bottleneck for every financial crime. To solve it, syndicates use unregulated over-the-counter brokers, or OTCs. These are financial operators working in jurisdictions with very weak regulatory controls. The FATF report cites a Canadian drug trafficking case that maps out this entire life cycle perfectly.
How did that Canadian network structure the flow?
It was a textbook operation. The organized crime network purchased Ether on a regulated exchange. Then they immediately moved it to decentralized exchanges to swap it for Tether and USDC without any KYC checks.
So that's the chain hopping and masking part?
Right. Then they transferred those stablecoins into unhosted wallets controlled by a shell import-export company. Finally, they layered the funds and off-ramped them into Canadian dollars via these OTC brokers, wiring the cash into domestic bank accounts disguised as legitimate investment proceeds.
Wow. Hearing the mechanics of this, it feels like the authorities are fundamentally outgunned. The criminals are bypassing the banking system entirely using self-executing code, but the FATF report spends a significant portion of its analysis on the counteroffensive.
Yes, the authorities aren't just sitting still.
So let me pose a theory here. If a private company like Tether or Circle literally writes the code that creates the stablecoin, can't they just build in a kill switch? Like a credit card company freezing your card if they detect a weird charge in another country.
Your theory is actually the exact foundation of the modern counteroffensive. What's fascinating here is that we are talking about programmable money.
Programmable money. Okay.
Because stablecoins run on smart contracts, which are essentially just if-then logical rules embedded in the blockchain, the issuer controls the master parameters of the asset. They can program the coin to execute specific conditions automatically. And the most powerful tool the SATF outlines is deny listing.
So deny listing is the kill switch. How does that mathematically work on a public ledger?
Let's say the FBI identifies an unhosted wallet address belonging to a ransomware group. They notify the stablecoin issuer. The issuer doesn't need to seize a physical server or raid a bank. They simply update a single line of code in the stablecoin's master smart contract, adding that specific wallet address to a deny list.
And what happens to the money?
The mathematical rules governing the coin instantly reject any signature originating from that wallet. The criminal can open their app and literally see the $10 million sitting there, but the network will permanently refuse to process any transfer, receipt, or withdrawal. The funds are mathematically paralyzed.
Oh, wow. That is incredibly powerful. They can look at it, but they can't touch it.
Exactly. It's frozen in glass.
But deny listing is inherently reactive, isn't it? You have to wait for the ransomware attack, identify the wallet, and then freeze it. And while you're doing that, the criminal's already chain hopping. Is there a way to flip the script and use the smart contract proactively?
There is, and it's called allow listing. Instead of playing defense and blocking known bad actors, the smart contract is programmed with a strict affirmative rule. The stablecoin can only be held, received, or transferred by pre-approved, identity-verified wallet addresses.
Oh, so if your address isn't on the list, you can't even receive the coin.
Right. If your address isn't on the allow list, the transaction automatically fails before it even processes.
That seems like it would completely neutralize the threat of unhosted wallets. If you require KYC for every single wallet, the anonymity disappears. But are financial institutions actually implementing this? It seems very restrictive.
We are seeing it emerge in highly regulated environments. The report highlights a Swiss financial institution launching a stablecoin pegged to the Swiss franc. To mitigate the exact risks we've discussed, they are implementing strict on-chain allow listing.
So unhosted wallets are banned.
Not banned, but controlled. Transactions are strictly limited to wallets on the approved list. If a user wants to transact using their own unhosted wallet, they must first undergo a full verification process by a Swiss bank.
I see.
Once their identity is confirmed, their specific wallet address is added to the smart contract's allow list. It perfectly merges the autonomy of self-custody with the strict compliance of the traditional banking sector.
That solves the problem for a new, highly controlled coin in Switzerland. But what about the billions of dollars flowing through the open market right now on existing stablecoins? How do you police the millions of transactions happening every single second?
That's where you apply artificial intelligence and advanced blockchain analytics to the public ledger. Because the data is permanently visible, machine learning algorithms can map out illicit networks in real time, looking for patterns that a human investigator would just miss.
Give me an example of how that works in practice.
Singapore provided a stellar case study demonstrating this capability. A licensed payment provider in Singapore was reviewing seemingly normal transactions, but they used analytics to look one hop away from their immediate customer.
Wait, one hop away, meaning they analyzed the wallet that sent the money to their customer rather than just looking at the customer themselves.
Precisely. They discovered that an external wallet sending funds to their customer had recently received $200,000 in Tether from an address with a direct known nexus to terrorist financing.
Wow, so the money was tainted just one step removed.
Exactly. Furthermore, the AI analytics revealed that the external wallet had previously been blacklisted by a completely different stablecoin issuer on a completely different network. By leveraging these advanced tools to look past the immediate transaction, the payment provider caught terrorist financing, attempting to sneak through a secondary layer.
Okay, so we have smart contracts that can permanently freeze funds, we have proactive allow lists, and AI mapping out terrorist networks. But this brings up a massive regulatory loophole, doesn't it?
It does. Jurisdictional boundaries.
Right. If a stablecoin issuer simply decides to legally base their headquarters in an offshore tax haven that refuses to enforce any of these technological safeguards, doesn't this entire system just fall apart?
It does, entirely. And that jurisdictional arbitrage is the exact reason the FATF issued this targeted report. Because technology cannot patch a legal loophole. If the rules aren't universal, the bad actors will simply migrate to the weakest link in the chain.
So what's the FATF's solution?
They are urging global compliance with what they call Recommendation 15. This is the global standard requiring all virtual asset service providers, or VASPs, to be licensed, regulated, and subject to comprehensive AML rules.
I noticed the travel rule is heavily emphasized in that section of the report. What is the practical application of that?
The travel rule requires financial institutions to pass along customer information, like the identity of the sender and the receiver, to the next institution whenever money is transferred. It ensures the audit trail actually travels with the funds.
Just like regular bank wires.
Exactly. But because stablecoins cross borders in seconds, the FATF is also pushing for a new concept called supervisory colleges.
The report mentions the European Union's MiCA regulation utilizing these colleges. How do they solve the border problem?
Under the EU's Markets in Crypto Assets Regulation, or MiCA, if a stablecoin reaches a certain massive scale, regulators from multiple countries are actually forced to team up and form a supervisory college to oversee the issuer jointly. It's a solution to a jurisdictional turf war, and it's specifically designed to close the multi-issuance loophole.
Okay, break down the multi-issuance loophole for me. How does a company exploit that?
Imagine a stablecoin issuer sets up a corporate entity in the Bahamas and another corporate entity in Cyprus. They issue the exact same digital coin from both entities simultaneously.
Okay, so two headquarters, one coin.
Right. When global law enforcement investigates a crime and demands compliance data from the Bahamas entity, that office points the finger at Cyprus, claiming Cyprus holds the records. When authorities go to Cyprus, Cyprus points right back to the Bahamas.
That's a classic shell game.
It's a corporate shell game applied to the global money supply. The FATF is making it clear that without coordinated multinational supervision through these colleges, issuers can just use corporate structuring to evade all the technological safeguards we just discussed.
This entire landscape represents a profound shift. I mean, we started by examining a $300 billion digital economy that provides the frictionless speed of the internet combined with the stability of fiat currency.
A powerful combination.
Very. And we explored how the exact same digital pipes that allow a small business to pay an overseas supplier instantly are being weaponized by state-sponsored hackers and global cartels, using unhosted wallets and decentralized bridges to fracture the audit trail.
But we also uncovered the technological response.
Yes, the smart contracts executing mathematical kill switches and AI algorithms tracking illicit funds across multiple blockchains. It's a totally new paradigm.
It really is. And as this technology continues to integrate into the traditional financial system, into the apps you use on your phone to split a dinner bill or pay for a coffee, understanding these underlying currents is vital. You are basically watching the fundamental architecture of global money being rewritten in real time.
Which leaves us with a fascinating and perhaps slightly unsettling thought to consider. And I want you listening to really mull this over. If global regulators are successful and we actually transition to a financial system where every stablecoin utilizes strict allow lists and universal freeze functions, we likely eradicate a massive percentage of global financial crime.
We do.
But do we inadvertently build a world where a private tech company or a consortium of them possesses the unilateral power to turn off your money with a single line of code? Where exactly is the line between total financial security and total financial surveillance?
That tension between security and autonomy is absolutely going to define the next decade of financial technology.
It certainly is. Well, thank you for helping navigate the complex mechanics of this report and breaking down the realities of programmable money. And thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep questioning the hidden systems that power the world around you.